And we're picking up where the previous edition of Stating the Obvious left off. If you did not listen to Stating the Obvious 107, you need to go back and do that now for all of this to make sense, in so much as anything I ever say makes sense. I'm going to backtrack a little bit too, and I'm going to throw in some random shit, and then we're going to get on with this. Oh, I'm going to throw in some random shit. Imagine that on this podcast. No fucking way.
You can scream and shout with all your might.
Oh, you can scream, shout, whine, cry, snivel, piss, moaning. Just generally fuck yourself.
Dig in your heels and hold on tight.
You can shove your opinions up your ass. That way your head has something to keep it company.
Either you are wrong or I am right.
Oh yeah, you know the third option. You are wrong and I am right. Fuck you. This is Stating the Obvious, brought to you by the Cynical Libertarian Society. And I am the Great One himself. This right here is the all-powerful, the healthy and well-fed weapons platform from which I launch the cruise missile of my intelligence that seeks out and destroys stupid motherfucking statists all over the world. All over the world. They're hearing this shit, and they're going, oh my god, this guy is evil. I mean, this guy's terrible. This Great One guy, he's mowing people down with machine guns. This guy's evil. He doesn't believe that the state should be allowed to murder people. Why, we have to silence him. He's dangerous. Yes, I am dangerous and I am evil. Because I believe that murdering people is wrong. And that, that shows you. I've said this before, I'm going to say it again. I mean, it shows you how effective the state brainwashing is and how effective the belief sets are and how, what I want to say, psychologically damaged and how morally sick the people in our society are. I mean, the 99%, that is. Those of you who are statists, the 99%ers. In that I sit here on this podcast and I say that it is wrong to kill people in foreign countries with flying robots. And for the 99%, I'm the dangerous person. I'm the person who's sick. I hate black people. In your world, you hear me, well, he hates black people. Right. Because I think we shouldn't by we, I mean the state. Because I think the state should not murder people. I must obviously hate black people. And that's your belief set. We're going to keep coming back to belief sets because that's what this series is supposed to be about. Right? I sit here and I say it's wrong for Obama to murder people in foreign countries with flying robots. And your belief set that you have been given by the state kicks right in and it says, oh, you're just racist. And what scares me is that makes perfect sense in your mind. Is that in your brain, there's like no disconnect between that guy said Obama shouldn't kill people. He must be racist. To you, that makes perfect sense. And the fact that that makes perfect sense to you scares the fuck out of me because unfortunately I have to share the planet with you. And I mean, I'm sitting here and I'm literally speechless. As you can tell by this well-received silence that you're hearing. As I sit here, I think that there are people, that there are 99% of you out there actually make that connection. And you believe that. And you believe that without questioning. That somebody who thinks it's wrong to murder people, people who think it's wrong to murder people think it's wrong to murder people because they're racist. And because they're racist, we can just ignore the fact that murdering people is wrong. We can pretend it's not happening. It's, in fact, Obama murdering people in foreign countries with flying robots is justified because I'm racist. And your brain wraps around that and encapsulates it. I say as I hit the microphone. And that makes perfect sense to you. And the fact that that makes sense to you scares the fuck out of me. Because you're out there in the world with me. And that, and here's the interesting part of this. As statist, as the 99%, as the stupid people, you believe that if it were not for the state, we would live in what you think of as anarchy. By that I mean you think that if the state did not exist, we'd all be running around murdering each other and killing each other. And this is part of your belief set that you've been given. The right-wing belief set includes in it the idea that if you don't believe in God, you can't have ethics. If you don't believe in God, you can't have morals. I've had right-wing or statist say this to me before. And the right-wing statist belief set includes the idea that if we don't have police, then there'll be crime everywhere. We've got to have more police because we got to do something about the crime. And the left-wing belief set says that if we don't have laws and regulations, it's interesting. The left-wing belief set says that we need more laws and regulations, and yet at the same time, it tends towards, we need to have fewer police brutality and all this other shit. The left-wing belief set allows for the recognition and acknowledgement of police brutality, yet at the very same time, the left-wing belief set calls for more laws and more regulations. Whereas the right-wing belief set says, we need less laws. Well, in some realms. I'm generalizing a lot here. The right-wing belief set says we need less laws and less regulations, yet at the same time, we need more police. We need more policing. We need more, beating down the hippies and the protesters and the drug users and all this other stuff. But both of your belief sets, the left-wing belief set, the right-wing belief set, both of them are statist in the sense that you believe that without the state, there'd be chaos. There'd be anarchy, in your definition of the word anarchy. People would be out there running around on the streets, murdering and pillaging and raping and burning down buildings and killing babies and raping 8-year-old boys. Oh wait, that's Catholic priest. Sorry, different topic. Right, all of these things would be happening if it weren't for the state. And yet, let's think about something for a minute. Animals, because humans are animals. Animals don't have a state in the sense that we have a state. Animals don't even have a government in the sense that we have a government. Animals have societies. Animals have social interactions, things like that, but they certainly do not have a state. Do you see white-tailed deer running around murdering and raping each other? Do you see grizzly bears running around murdering and raping each other? Do you see mountain lions running around murdering and raping and pillaging and burning things down? Do you see robins and blackbirds and crows and blue jays raping and pillaging and burning down each other's nest? No. Do you realize that most of human existence has been without a state? When humans were evolving from monkeys, if you're a creationist, you think we evolved from monkeys. When humans were evolving, when Homo sapien was becoming Homo sapien sapien, and humans were doing things like figuring out how to make arrowheads and discovering fire and expanding their knowledge, did they have a state to prevent them from running around and raping and pillaging and murdering each other and burning things down? When the the Native Americans lived on the American continent before the white people from Europe showed up, did they have a state in the sense that we have a state? No. They had tribes. They had civilizations. They had government. The tribes governed themselves in different ways. I talked about this a couple of podcasts ago. But did they have a state? Did they have one guy out of all the Indian tribes in North America? Did they all have one guy that they looked at and mindlessly believed whatever he said, and that one guy was allowed to murder people? And did they all give him money to murder so that he could take that money and give it to his corporations so that they could build him weapons so that he could go kill people? Did they do? No, they did not have a state in the way that we have a state. And did the Indians run around raping and killing and murdering each other and burning things down? Well, if you got your education from watching television, you think they did. But tell me something. If the Indians were all busy running around raping, pillaging, murdering, and killing, how the fuck did they reproduce? When did they have time to make babies? When did they have time to eat? When did they have time for the ones who built permanent structures? When did they have time to do that? Look at the Aztecs and the Mayans. Yes, the Aztecs sacrificed a whole lot of people, ripped their hearts out to appease their gods. Yeah, they did these things. But yet, oddly enough, even they managed to without an well, actually, the Aztecs did have something of a state. I actually should not make the assertion that the Aztec and Mayan cultures were stateless. I think it's safe to say they had less state than we did. And yet, with less state than we have now, they managed to not exterminate themselves by running around raping and pillaging and murdering and killing each other. Because I thought about this morning, because I was out running. I thought about this morning when I was out running, getting exercise. We were talking about in the previous edition of Stating the Obvious, which you should have listened to before listening to this one. It's episode 107. I was out running on the trail, and I saw this hot chick on her bicycle, and she was stopped, and she was looking at a map. And so I stopped, and I was, hey, what's going on? You're looking at a map. Are you lost? And, yes, partially I stopped because she's cute, but I also stopped because she was looking at a map. It's like, are you lost? No, blah, blah, blah. Just going on the trails for the first time. We chatted a little bit. I told, oh, yeah, this way's really good. That way's really good. Well, thanks. Hey, have a great day. See ya. And I thought about it, like, for those of you who are statist, in your world, we're out there. We're on the trail. There's no state anywhere around. There was no cameras other than the satellite cameras. There was no monitoring by the police. There were no regulations. There were no park rangers or police officers. Obama was not there. There was no laws governing how you talk to another person when you're on the trail and they're on a bike. And there was no state out there whatsoever. And yet, I managed to interact with another human being. And I didn't rape her, I didn't kill her, I didn't pillage her, I didn't set her on fire. We didn't burst into anarchy. She didn't try to kill me. Why, we just talked to each other and communicated and exchanged information. And we were pleasant, nice, sociable human beings to each other. And we did all of this without the state. I wasn't nice to her because I was scared that if I'm not nice to her, the state is going to show up and kill me. And it's amazing how that works. Because I did not approach her with a belief set. I didn't walk up and go, oh, she's riding a bicycle. She must be a hippie. She must be a liberal Democrat. She must be an atheist. She must hate Christians. She must vote for Obama. I did not approach her with a fucking belief set based on one little thing I saw about her, which is how those of you in the 99% go through your lives. You see somebody, you make an observation about them, you allow your belief set about that person to kick in, you instantly start hating that person, and therefore you need the government to come along and make laws to regulate how you interact with other people, to make laws about what other people can do. You need the government to arrest other people who do things that violate your belief set because you believe it's wrong for other people to violate your belief set. Because, your belief set was given to you by the state, and you believe everything you're told by the state because you're a stupid motherfucker. So that was the random part. That was 15 minutes of me babbling incoherently and ranting. Now let's try to get back to the notes and wrap this up so that I can go fucking have a life. For those of you who are statist, having a life is what you do when you're not obsessing about how people who don't have the same belief set you have, need to be put in prison and need to be hated, and how there ought to be a law. Oh, I forgot all about that. One of these days I'm going to do... Here's a teaser. I was having a conversation with a statist a while back, and this stupid fucking statist actually said, there ought to be a law against lying. And this stupid bitch was serious. This was not like an expression. This stupid statist fuckwad bitch actually seriously said there should be a law against telling a lie. And I thought that was the most beautiful example of how fucked up the 99% is. And so I can do an entire podcast analyzing everything that's wrong with that, and I want to do that at some point in the future, not today. Back to the notes. Let's get back to what the fuck I'm supposed to be talking about. All right, where are my notes? Where am I? Did I do this? Did I do this? Did I do this? I did that. I did girl on bike path. Okay, here we go. We're talking about how you don't think and about how you can't think. And that's why you have a belief set. That's why you don't question the belief set. We talked about your diet, how your diet and how your lack of exercise, your shitty diet, your lack of exercise mean your body is not healthy. If the body's not healthy, the mind cannot be healthy. If the mind is not healthy, you can't think. You can't analyze. You can't reason. Okay, more reasons why you can't think. You can't think because you're stuck in the 40-hour work week. We live in a society where the state, the arm of the state known as the education system, has two, what I call branches, or two stages. There's the public school system, K through 12, and then there's college. The point of the public school system, the K through 12, the point of that is to teach people to work in factories. You go to a place at a specific time every day. You go to a specific room. You do a specific job for a specific amount of time. A bell rings. You go to a different room for a specific amount of time. You do a specific thing. A bell rings. You go to a different room for a specific time. You do a specific thing. A bell rings. You do that 5 days a week. The point of that is to teach you to conform. It's to teach you to work in a factory. It's to teach you to do a repetitive task over and over and over without questioning it, without questioning the task, and without questioning the authority that is telling you to perform the task. Then some people go to college. College is where the state teaches you how to work in a cubicle. You learn slightly more advanced tasks. You learn how to think enough to process the data that you're given by the state, but not enough to question the data. And yeah, I can spend hours, and we're not going to do it now, talking about the failures of college. I really want to skip that. But the point is, you go through the education arm of the state, and it prepares you for your 40-hour work week, whether it's in a cubicle or whether it's in a factory. And you go there, and you do mind-numbing, repetitive tasks. And you do these in an environment where they don't really want you to interact with other people. They don't want you to think for yourself. If you think for yourself, you're viewed as a threat by management. This is, of course, a function of the corporation. Corporations, because corporations are not people, any person in the corporation is expendable. Because any person in the corporation is expendable, that means everybody else in the corporation is a threat to each individual person. If I'm the CEO of a corporation, I am expendable because somebody else can come along and become CEO. They can overthrow me, so to speak, and become the CEO, and I'm gone, and the corporation will still exist. This is as opposed to a business. If I own a business, I am the business owner. Nobody can come along and take the business from me. Nobody can displace me as the business owner unless I choose to sell the business to them, or unless it's the state, because the state can come in and take my business from me anytime it wants under eminent domain. Or they can say that, oh, well, you might be using this business to buy or sell or traffic drugs. And so they can seize my business. So the state can take my business from me anytime it wants. But none of my employees can take the business from me unless I choose to sell it to them or to give them that power, right? So I, as a business owner, I'm not threatened by anything. In a corporation, everybody is a threat to everybody, because anybody can be displaced by another person, in theory. So because everybody is a threat, it behooves each member of the corporation to keep everybody below them on the food chain, so to speak, as ignorant and as powerless as possible. So you, for 40 hours a week, you go to this place where you're treated like a moron, where you're encouraged not to think, where you do repetitive tasks, where you never live up to any kind of potential, because if you start excelling at something, you become a threat. You become singled out. I've been there. I've done that. I've lost jobs because I was a threat. And that's not bragging. That's not complaining. That's just a statement of fact. I'm not the only person out there. Trust me, there's plenty of people. You can find them who have lost jobs because somebody above them in the corporate food chain perceived them as a threat. It happens all the fucking time. So you do this mind-numbing activity 40 hours a week. You spend a certain amount of time in your mind-numbing activity of getting to the job. You spend a certain amount of time coming home from the job. You spend a certain amount of your own free time preparing to go to the job. And you get up whenever you have to get up to go to your mind-numbing 40 hours a week. You get up, you take a shower because that's what you have to do to go to work. You eat some breakfast because for breakfast you eat shitty food. You don't eat anything nutritious. You eat a fucking bagel. And I don't know, whatever. For breakfast, I eat dead animal meat, and I eat leafy green vegetables, and I drink water because water is good for your body. Your body is made out of water. You need a lot of water. And I also drink coffee, sweet coffee. Let me take a drink of coffee. Hold on. Coffee is a drug, and as we know, drugs have always been illegal because the state said so. Randy, what the fuck was I talking about? Yes, thank you. All right. Hold on. I'm having a senior moment. I have to pick up my train of thought. See, whenever I try to be clever, it backfires. Some people are saying you're never clever. All right, 40-hour work week. So you're doing all these activities before you go to work so that you can go to work. Then you get in your car. God, I hate commuting. I've had to do that before. That is mind-numbingly bad. So you drive to work, and then you do the mind-numbing work at work, and then you drive home, and then you do it again. This teaches your brain not to think. Okay? When you spend a lot of time using your brain to not think, when the state comes to you, so you spend 40 hours a week, more than 40 hours a week, engaged in activities where you're not using your brain. And then the state comes to you and says some shit like, they hate us for our freedom. Your brain, which has spent 40 plus hours of the week already thinking, it's hard for the brain to shift gears and suddenly start functioning and analyze this as bullshit for 40 hours a week. Your brain just sits there and accepts whatever bullshit comes at it and just says, yeah, fine, whatever. This is what I do 40 hours a week. Fine, yeah, that's true. Just rubber stamp it and send it on. So then the state comes to you and slings some bullshit at you like they hate us for our freedom, and your brain just says, yep, they sure do. Rubber stamp it, send it on. You can't think because, I'm shifting gears here, you can't think because depending on how much education you've had 12 years of indoctrination, or 16 years of, if you got a 4-year degree, you've had 17 years of indoctrination, or you've had 18 years of indoctrination, whatever. School is about not teaching you how to think. It's about indoctrinating you. School is about you go in, you get some information presented to you, you blindly accept that the information is true, You memorize the information, you regurgitate the information on a test, and then you forget about it, and you move on. That is what most schooling consists of. Not all schooling. I don't want to be absolutist here. I don't want to make what I call an absolutist statement. Do some people actually learn some things in the formal state-run schooling environment? Yes, some people do learn some things. Most schooling, however, is simply accept information as true without analyzing it, memorize the information, regurgitate it, forget about it. Great example, I took a poli-sci class. And I took the poli-sci class because I wanted to get a better understanding of why those of you in the 99% are in the 99%. I wanted to understand, why are people so stupid that they believe the things they believe, like the government can kill people, like we can stop drug use by prohibition, all the things that people who believe, like more regulations will cause better behavior, like more laws will reduce crime, things like that. Why do people believe this? So anyhow, I'm in this poli-sci class, and this stupid bitch who's teaching the class starts talking, and she gives this example. So in her example, she draws 3 stick figures on the board, and one of the stick figures is larger than the other stick figures. And she says, so we have, Bob and Dan and Arnold. That's the big guy is Arnold Schwarzenegger, whatever. So the big guy is Arnold. And so she says, so it's prehistoric times, and these 3 guys, they go out and they gather food. And they come back and they've got their food. And Arnold, because he's larger, has more food than the other people have. So the government, don't ask me where the government came from. This is just her example, and I'm going to represent the important part of this, right? So don't worry about it. And when she did it, it took longer than this. We don't have all day. That's why I'm babbling right now. All right, so Arnold comes back. Arnold gathered more food than Bob and Dan because Arnold is larger. So the government takes some of what Arnold gathered, because he has more, and redistributes it to the other people. What is that called? And somebody in the class says that's called taxes. She says, right. So, and then she moves on. And what fascinated me and scared me at that moment is that at no point did we discuss, why is the government justified in taking some of the food Arnold gathered and giving it to other people? And that is the perfect example of what I'm talking about. Education comes to you and says, the government takes things from people to give to other people. That's called taxes. As a person, and I use the term person loosely because those of you who are in the 99% are not really people. That's another podcast. As a person, hold on. Excuse me. As a person in the education arm of the state, you're told that the government taking things from one person and giving it to another person or another group of people, that is taxes. You're presented with that piece of information as if it is a fact, as if it is something that should be accepted. At no point in at no point in that class, at no point in the education system. I've taken a shit ton of philosophy classes and ethics classes. At no point in any poli-sci class or in any philosophy class or in any ethics class did anybody ever ask or examine the question, why can the government take things? Why can the government take food from Arnold and give it to other people? What process is behind that? How is taking food from Arnold and giving it to other people simply because Arnold gathered more food, why is that morally justified? It's amazing now, and I'm going to do an entire podcast on this in the future. Here's another teaser for you. It's amazing now that I look back on all the philosophy classes I've taken, philosophy and ethics classes, all the way from 101 all the way up to, not a joke, 666. 600 level. It was 666 because the teacher got to pick his own number. That's what he picked. I love it. He's a great guy. In all of those classes, never one time did anybody say, why is the state justified in taxing people? Why is the state justified in stealing things from people to give to other people? At no point in all of those classes did anybody ever mention the non-aggression principle. Not one fucking time did the idea that it is wrong to initiate aggression against other people ever come up. And so when you statists, when you 99%ers come out of the education system and you can't think and you just mindlessly accept things like, well, yes, I mean, Arnold gathered more food than Dan and Bob. Well, of course the government should take some of his food and give it to other people. That's your belief set. Of course the government should tax people. Well, of course the government should kill people in foreign countries because they hate our freedom. I mean, how can it, and anybody who questions those things, in your mind, that person, the person who questions taxation, the person who questions murdering people in foreign countries, in your brainwashed belief set that you have gotten from the state, anybody who questions the state is dangerous. Anybody who questions the state is into murder and rape and child molesting and burning down buildings, and they hate freedom and they want to just run wild and do whatever they want. And to you, those people are dangerous and must be silenced. And that's part of where your belief set comes from. That's part of why you have it. Because you don't think. Because you can't think. Because the education arm of the state has trained you not to think. It has fed you information. And you have mindlessly memorized and regurgitated this information without ever analyzing it and thinking about it. And when somebody says, why can the government tax Arnold? Well, because it's the government. Of course the government can tax people. Of course the government can take things from people who have more and give it to other people that have less. That's fair. All right, we're not going to go on that rant. Let's get on with the list. Another reason why you can't think, another reason why you have a belief set and why you cling to your belief set and why you judge people by belief sets and why you can't think about and analyze and have self-awareness about your belief set is because you know from just being alive and interacting in our society, you know that the people you call your friends, many of them will ostracize you if you question a belief set or if you have a belief set which is different than theirs. Human beings are social animals. We want to interact with other human beings. Even I, one of the most antisocial motherfuckers you'll ever meet in your life, you're actually not going to meet me. And if you're stalking me, I'm going to not be happy about that. I actually have a stalker right now still. I wonder if that's all right. Off. Randy's holding up the off-topic sign. I can't talk about my stalker. This is not bullshit. I have a chick who is stalking me. It's really fucking weird and scary. Okay, that has nothing to do with friends. Stalkers are not your friends. All right. Humans are social animals. We want to engage with other people. We want to be around other people. We want to interact with other people. And so everybody has to some degree a fear of being ostracized. So if all of your friends believe in global warming, even if you don't believe in global warming, you're sure as fuck not going to say so. You know, I'm a theater person. I know a lot of theater people. I've been in theater for years. Most theater people are left-wing statists. They believe in global warming. They have Obama's cock in their mouth. They hate rich people. You know, all of the belief set that goes with being a left-wing statist. One of my friends is a right-wing statist, and she's a theater person, and she dare not, absolutely dare not, let anybody in theater know that her belief set is not the same as their belief set, because she knows that she will be ostracized. She will never get cast in another production again. And it's absolutely true. When people find out your belief set is not the same as theirs, they will ostracize you. It has happened to me. I have had people that I was friends with who are no longer friends with me because they spewed some bullshit about their belief set, and I questioned it. I said, no, you realize that can't be true, and blah, blah, blah. And I defined some terms, and I laid some stuff out, and they could not handle it. They literally could not handle it. They had to stop being friends with me because I asked them to do things like define your terminology, or because I questioned their belief set, because I pointed out inaccuracies or inconsistencies, and people cannot handle this and express dissent from the belief set of your social group in many cases will ostracize you. This is simply a fucking fact. Don't believe me? Try it. And that wonderful moment of silence was brought to you by me taking a drink of water. And so why? I was looking at my notes there. So why will they ostracize? I mean, yes, they'll ostracize you because you're questioning their belief set. I think part of the reason why people will ostracize you if you question the belief set is that while those of you who are statist accept your belief set without question, you mindlessly believe what you're told to believe by the state. I also think, though, that there is, for a lot of people, on some level, a knowledge that their belief set can't hold up to scrutiny. You know, I think this is part of why people resist a deep discussion about their belief set and resist things like defining terms is because of their short attention span. I've talked about this before. You know, you can't go into this long extended conversation. Like the example I used in a previous podcast was abortion. You know, is abortion the murder of a human being? In order to have that discussion, you have to define abortion, you have to define murder, and you have to define human being. You have to define those very precisely. Right, and defining something like what is and what is not a human being can get very difficult. Does it mean you have human DNA? What constitutes human DNA? Does there have to be consciousness involved? How do you evaluate and recognize and define and confirm the presence or the non-presence of consciousness? You know, does there have to be self-awareness? Like, what are the very specific things that are required to make a biological entity a human being? You know, why is a Homo sapien sapien a human being, but a dolphin is not a human being? You have to define these things. I'm not doing that now. I'm using this as an example to illustrate that if you sit down with just one other intelligent human being who's capable of actually fucking thinking, and you try to define what is a human being, and reach a consensus between the two of you on what exactly constitutes a human being, you could be there for a long time. So that's my point, is that questioning a belief set is very time involved. And because, especially now with the medicated generation, those of you who are under 30, you have no attention span. You can't focus on anything for an extended period of time. Anything that's more than 20 seconds or 140 characters, you can't grasp. You can't remember something that happened more than 20 seconds ago in order to put it together. You can't pay attention to something for more than 20 seconds. So for you to go through that process, it's something you're simply not capable of doing because your brain can't focus on something long term like that. That's a whole other podcast series that's coming, where we're going to talk about neuroplasticity and the effect of, you know, and how these are influenced by your activities you do, how you think, how you use your brain. Anyway, that's a whole different thing. So I mean, there's one reason why people don't want to question their belief sets, because it's very difficult. On another level, I think too, the reason people don't want their belief sets questioned is because on a sort of a deep instinctual level, people recognize their belief set is bullshit. I've talked about this before. When people sit there and I say to them, you realize that Obama is murdering people in foreign countries with flying robots. And they say to me, yes, but he passed healthcare reform. So there's a belief set there that you've been given by the state that says the President of the United States can murder people in foreign countries with flying robots because the President of the United States passed healthcare reform. And there's a level on which you believe that. You completely accept that, and you believe that because you are a slave. You are the 99%. You can't think, and you will not think. And so there's a level on which you totally accept and believe and adhere to that line of bullshit. But there's also, deep down inside your lizard brain, there's this part of you which is being suppressed by the state, by the brainwashing, by the public education system, by the PSAs, by the government speeches, by the Obama poster on your wall, by your church. It cracks me up when people who are atheists, believe in Obama because Obama goes to church. He's a Christian or a Muslim or what the fuck ever he is. It's all the same to me. There's no difference between different stupid people that imaginary and live in the sky. Anyhow, there's this part in your lizard brain that's suppressed by all this bullshit that comes to you from the state. There's this little part down in the lizard brain that says, bullshit. Murdering other people, with flying robots or not with flying robots, murdering other people is wrong. And the fact that some cocksucker passed healthcare reform doesn't justify it. Deep down inside your lizard brain, which is for those of you who are statists, that's the only part of your brain that's functioning normally. Deep down in the lizard brain, it knows that all this brainwashing you've believed, it knows that your belief set is all bullshit. Deep down inside your lizard brain is sitting there going, wait a minute. If God hates fags, and if God is all powerful, why doesn't God just make the homosexuals not homosexuals? Although you call them fags because you're stupid. And wait, if God hates, how can God hate? Because hate is a human emotion. The only way God could experience hate is if God were human. But God's not human, because if God were human, then God would not be God. And see, your lizard brain isn't stupid like you are. Your lizard brain recognizes this shit. And so deep down inside, that shit's going on. But your conscious brain, the one that's been brainwashed by the state, suppresses all of that. So when somebody comes along and starts questioning belief systems, your lizard brain hears this and starts trying to push its way to the surface and say, yes, listen to this person, non-aggression principle. Yes, it's wrong to kill people. Listen to this person. And your conscious brain, the part of it that's been brainwashed by the state, the part that you think you're using to think because you think you can think, but you can't think, shoves it back down. And if this person keeps babbling about non-aggression and about questioning the state and about thinking for yourself, you're going to ostracize this person because you recognize the danger in being around somebody who might unleash the lizard brain and might cause your brain, your conscious brain, your human brain, your statist brain to actually start thinking for the first time in your pathetic little fuckwad slavery life. And furthermore, I do want to say that if you have to be concerned that your friends are going to ostracize you because of your belief set, then these people are not actually real friends to begin with. I have friends, believe it or not. I know some of you are saying, that's bullshit. There's no way in hell you have friends. You're an asshole. I am an asshole. Yes, I am. Proud of it. I am an asshole, and I do have friends. And I have friends that I can argue with about politics. I have one friend. We argue about global warming. She's a global warming wacko. I make fun of her. She makes fun of me. We rip each other, whatever. And then we go have a fucking beer. Real friends will not be threatened if you have a belief set that's different than theirs. Because intelligent people recognize also, too, that if you really expect other people to have the exact same belief set as you, then that is a cult. I mean, even as cult-like as the Republican Party and the Democrat Party are, first of all, there's the joke about libertarians that says if you get 10 libertarians in a room together, you'll have 11 different opinions, and that's absolutely true. That's one of the reasons why libertarians as a political party cannot achieve jack shit, because none of them agree with each other enough to actually work together to achieve anything. The Republican and the Democrat Party are sufficiently brainwashed and have sufficient overlap in their belief sets that they can organize together and accomplish things like getting some jackass elected president of the United States, or getting some jackass into Congress, or getting some jackass on the Supreme Court, and then using the power of the state to murder people. So they can achieve those things. But even they are not so completely brainwashed that, I mean, if you get 10 Republicans of different age groups and such in a room, like especially today, you're going to find there's maybe at least one of them who's like, yeah, we should let homosexuals get married and we need to move on and not fuck with that anymore. Or if you get, left-wingers in a room, you can find some left-wingers who, see, it's really hard for me to say anything nice about left-wing statists because they're so fucking stupid. I mean, right-wing statists are really stupid, but left-wing statists are so much stupider. All right, I can't say anything nice about left-wing statists. I can't think of anything right now at the top of my head. But if you got 10 left-wing statists, 10 liberal Democrats in a room together, you would find there'd be some things somewhere that some of them would disagree with others on, but not a lot. The same thing with your Republicans. There's going to be some disagreement, but not a lot. When you have a group of people whose belief sets entirely, like 99% or better, overlap, that is a cult. Because if you've got real friends who aren't completely stupid are not going to expect you to have the exact same belief set that you have, and they're not going to ostracize you. When you have a group of people, I'm brilliant. When you have a group of people whose belief sets overlap by 99%, that's called theater. Because other than a religious cult, theater is the only place I have ever seen where everybody fucking mindlessly has the same belief set. And that is not a bullshit. The theaters I work at, everybody's a liberal Democrat. Everybody worships Obama. Everybody believes in global warming. Everybody hates Christians. Even the ones who are religious hate Christians. It really is. Theater, ideologically speaking, I mean, I love theater. I love doing theater. It's great. But ideologically speaking, a theater environment is the closest you can come to a religious cult without being in a religious cult. That is no bullshit. So real friends, people who are intelligent, are going to recognize the fact that other people aren't going to share their belief set exactly. And so if you question somebody's belief set, if you ask them to define their terms, if you tell them you disagree with them, etc., and these people choose to ostracize you, these people were, first of all, not intelligent in the first place. And second of all, these people are not your real friends. So the sooner you get these scumbag fuckwads out of your life, the better off. And that's why if you're an asshole like me, whenever some fuckwad around you says, blah, 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 global warming, that's when I just go, dude, you realize there's no such thing as global warming, right? Or when somebody says to me something about global warming, I'll say, no, I'm not religious. And they'll look at me and say, I don't believe in global warming. I'm not religious. And then we go into this debate about, is global warming a religion? And yes, it is. That's not this podcast. That'll be an upcoming series of podcasts. Global warming. I can't believe that we've all been going to die from global warming for how long now? And yet we're still here. I'm really, really shocked that global warming has had the legs that it's had, that it's still around, that people still believe this shit. It just boggles my mind. All right. Hold on. I'm looking at my notes. Yeah, I know. Thank you. We are... Let's see. I did that. I'm going to check... What? I'm just going to save that because I think I need to build better on that part. So, that's it. There you go. I got through the notes. I got through stuff I need to get to. Belief sets. People have belief sets. Belief sets allow people to instantly make judgments about other people without knowing anything about those people. And not just people, but situations, right? There's a belief set. For example, belief sets. Israel. You have to either believe everything the state of Israel does is wonderful, or you're anti-Semitic. Like if Israel kills some people, well, they were totally justified in that. It's like, so the state of Israel was justified in killing those people. Well, yeah, are you anti-Semitic? That's a belief set. A belief set is the set of beliefs given to you by the state that you use to judge other people and to judge other situations without actually thinking about those situations or those people, without understanding those situations or those people. To judge other people without having to communicate with them. Like I said, the example, I said there's no such thing as global warming. The person responds with the assertion that I'm opposed to clean energy. Because if you don't believe in global warming, you must be opposed to clean energy. That's a belief set. It's not true. I love clean energy. I don't believe in global warming. You can believe one without the other. You can support one without the other. They have nothing to do with each other. But for those of you who are fuckwad idiot statist, you can't grasp that. You have your belief set given to you by the state. You judge other people. You judge other situations. You judge the events in the world around you based on your belief set, a belief set which has been given to you by the state, which you have never questioned, which you have never thought about, which you have never analyzed, which you have never sat down and defined the terms, the conditions, the context of all the components of that. And you accept that belief set because you're brainwashed, because you can't think, because you don't think, because your mind and your body are not healthy, because you've never learned how to think, because you've never tried to think, because you don't want to think, because you want to be a slave. You want the state to tell you what to think. It's like those of you who listen to Rush Limbaugh. Rush Limbaugh very openly says that he tells his listeners what to think about things. And they love it. You statists love being told what to think. Because you can't